is up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. It's June 1st. Welcome to June. We're going to be going over the breakout second and third year candidates that you need to target in your best ball drafts and your redrafts and your home draft leagues coming up this summer. I did put out an article on the fantasyfellowship.com, and we're going to just basically go over that article, and I'll kind of show you guys the players that I'm super excited to target that are now sophomores and third-year players. Some of these guys have already broken out, so it's not like a bold call to say they're breaking out. But I did identify some guys. And hey, while you're here, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you are new. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber goal before the NFL season starts. But the 2023 playbook, it's completely free this year. I got everything you need in here, and that's where I've been posting some of my articles. And again, rankings, projections, advanced stuff, cheat sheets, all that good stuff's in here. We're going to click into the breakout second and third year guys. Now, I kind of started just with the second year players. There's a recap if you want to, skip it. But let's just kind of look at the quarterbacks. Second year quarterbacks that are having some potentials here: Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and Brock Purdy. Now with Kenny Pickett, last year was okay. He had a really, really bad 1.79% pass touchdown ratio, which is really bad. I think the league average is somewhere between 4 and 5, perhaps. And then he did have a low 6.18 yards per attempt. So he was dinking and dunking a lot. They weren't scoring a lot of touchdowns. The offensive line was garbage. It didn't give him a lot of time to throw the football, especially downfield. I think the improvements to the offensive line this year, you're going to see that YPA jump a little bit. You're going to see more touchdowns, and he's probably going to return more towards the league averages in these two categories, which should benefit some of the other guys we're going to talk about later in this program. But Kenny Pickett, by no means is he going to be a league winner this year. I think he is not necessarily a breakout, but I think we might get a little mini breakout where maybe he just kind of proves that, hey, I am the guy here that you guys want to build around. He's got really good weapons. He's got a good running back to hand the ball and throw it off to, and a good offensive line, good defense there. I think Kenny Pickett, when it's all said and done, he could be a top 20, top 24 quarterback. Definitely not a guy you're going to want as your QB1. But if you play super flex leagues, I think Kenny Pickett has some value. So I'm not projecting a breakout for him. I'm just going to say, hey, maybe there's a little mini breakout there where he at least just supplies some fantasy value as a QB2. The next guy here, and we're kind of coming in unknown with Desmond Ridder. He did play 4 games in 2022. He won 2, lost 2. He was 2.2% more accurate than Marcus Mariota, which is good for some of his weapons that we're drafting high in drafts right now. But his QB rating was lower than Mariota's. He had a 49.8 QBR. Mariota's was 55.6. So again, young quarterback. Nothing to really play for in Atlanta last year. I'm assuming a full offseason as being the guy, getting the reps with the ones. We're going to see a pretty nice leap from year 1 to year 2 from Desmond Ridder. Now, he, just like Kenny Pickett, he also posted a really bad touchdown pass ratio of 1.74, which is just awful. That's 1.74 passing touchdowns per 100 passing attempts. So I think that's going to go up. And then I did do some digging. Ryan Tannehill, under Arthur Smith with Tennessee Titans, he had 6.86% touchdown ratio and 7.69% touchdown ratio with Arthur Smith just a couple of years ago. So yeah, I know it's a run-heavy offense, but Tannehill lit up some numbers there with that passing offense. And I think maybe Ritter's not going to put up those kind of numbers, but I do think it's possible to see him hit 4 or 5% and have a touchdown ratio that's more towards league average. And then with Ritter's legs, I'm not sure he's going to rack up a lot of fantasy stats. He can run. He can move a little bit. Maybe he's kind of Ryan Tannehill-like in that regard here. But I think Ritter is very similar to Pickett. We're going to see him improve his numbers from his rookie season. We're going to see some growth in the Atlanta offense. I like the Atlanta offense. And again, maybe just a mini breakout, not a huge breakout, but at least serviceable in super flex leagues. Where you think, yeah, he could get me, 200, 250 yards passing, a touchdown, and he's got a good chance at maybe getting that second touchdown. So I like Ridder, not saying he's a breakout player. Sam Howell, this guy's completely unknown at the moment. He played 1 game last year. He had some okay stats. He was 11 for 19 as a passer. I believe he threw a touchdown, threw an interception. But the numbers that I am looking at from that game, 5 carries for 35 yards and a rushing touchdown. He is really good running the football. He ran for 828 yards and 11 touchdowns in his final college season with Carolina. He's one of those guys that, could sneakily run for 500 plus yards and sneak in, he could get a handful of touchdowns too. So he's got a decent built-in rushing floor. We love Terry McLaurin. We love Jahan Dotson. Curtis Samuel's there. He's got some good receiving backs. It's a functional offense. And Sam Howell might actually have more upside than a Ritter or Kenny Pickett because of this rushing upside. So if there's anyone that's going to break out from the three that we've already looked at, it's probably Howell, but it's a huge unknown. Not really quite sure where he fits in. I think, again, these guys are more super flex quarterback twos, guys that you draft on your best ball teams as your QB2 or QB3. I like Howell, not ready to call him yet a breakout player. I think these guys that we've talked about are all potential breakouts for 2024, as long as they hold on to the starting jobs for the year. And then the one quarterback that I think has the best chance for a second-year breakout, it's Brock Purdy. He was unbelievable last year. He came in through a bunch of games in a row where he had 2 touchdown passes. He ran a touchdown or 2 in. He's not afraid to run the ball. And everything's about his elbow. Will he be ready for week 1? It sounds like he's going to be ready for week 1. And by all means, like we love the 49ers offense. We love Shanahan. We love the weapons, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey now. Like there's a lot of good surrounding Brock Purdy. And if he's good to go week 1, he's going to smash his ADP. And right now he's being drafted. I did a drafters draft last night. He went undrafted in 20 rounds. Like you can get him anywhere between rounds 15 and 20 right now at best balls. And I do think that if he's healthy and playing, he's got that upside to be a top, 15, 16 quarterback. It could be a breakout. It could be a breakout quarterback year to year for Brock Purdy. So those are the QBs. Let's move on to the running backs where this list gets a little bit more fun. Starting with Breece Hall. Now, Breece Hall's returning from a knee injury. Not as bad as Javonte Williams, who we'll get to in a second down the paragraph here. But Breece Hall, it sounds like he's on track to play week 1. He's not going to be getting a full workload that first month of September. I think you're going to want to be patient with him. I think the breakout is there. Now, he technically did break out before his injury last season, so I don't know if we can call it a true breakout. But, man, if he plays the full 16, 17-game season, I think by mid-year, he's going to be looking like that breakout player. So I like Breece Hall. Draft him when you can get him in the 3rd round. Moving on to Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker technically broke out last year, so I don't want to call him a breakout this year. He does have Zach Charbonnet behind him, who they drafted in the 2nd round, so that could, take some of his touches away. But I still expect Kenneth Walker to rush for over 1,000 yards, 15 to 20 touches per game. He's going to be a really solid player, but I think Charbonnet's presence could limit the breakout. But I'm still drafting Kenneth Walker. Sometimes he falls into the 5th round of best balls. And then we get to the cover man. He's my breakout player of the year, and it's James Cook, guys. Here's the math. Devin Singletary is out. Damian Harris is in. Latavius Murray is in. Those guys don't really scare me. I see no competition for James Cook's receiving role from these 2 guys. Devin Singletary, the last 3 years, he had 50-plus targets in 3 straight years. Singletary also put up rushing attempts of 177, 188, 156, and 151. Cook's going to get at minimum 150. If he approaches, the 175 plus range and he's getting 50 targets, well, he's going to do very similar to what Devin Singletary did, but because he's a better talent, he's going to have better numbers than Singletary. And Singletary's first 4 years with Buffalo, he was RB23 last year, RB20 the year before, RB32, RB33. That's Cook's floor. He's going to be a fringe RB2 flex player most weeks, but I mean, he's got that top 15, top 16 running back potential. He could be a league winner. Maybe they don't even use Latavius Murray. Maybe Damian Harris is just kind of a reserve guy. If Cook comes out and he looks good, he just might get all the touches he can handle. And I did hear that he bulked up a little bit to carry the rock more in 1st and 2nd down. So I am absolutely all in on James Cook right now. He's an 8th round pick on best ball formats. And he looks good as your RB2. He looks even better as your RB3 in your build if you grab 2 running backs early. He is my favorite breakout 2nd-year player, James Cook. Draft him when you can. You're getting a piece of Buffalo, and he's going to be the lead receiving back. And it's just if he can, grind out those carries and get those rushing touchdowns, he's in for a big 2nd year. Rachaad White, I noted he's an interesting running back, but I think Tampa Bay is going to be a troubled team this year. They're not going to be able to run the ball. They didn't run the ball well last year. Their offensive line's garbage. Their defense is going to be garbage. Underwhelming advanced metrics for Rachaad White last year. I don't see it. I think you're basically relying on him as a PPR receiving back. Sure, he could pop off with some RB2 weeks. I don't see the value in him, especially when he's being drafted right around James Cook. Give me James Cook all day. I want to be invested in Buffalo, not Tampa Bay. So breakout on for James Cook, not so much for Rachaad White. Brian Robinson, mini breakout maybe. Just stick with me here. He missed the first 5 games last year due to the gunshot wound to his knee. He still went on to rush for 205 attempts. That's roughly 17 rushing attempts per game. Now give him a full offseason to get healthy. He's going to be a full year removed from that knee injury. How many carries are they going to give him? Are they going to give him more than 17 a game, upwards of 20 per game? He could be a volume hog. We know they don't really love Antonio Gibson. They only drafted a late dart at running back in Chris Rodriguez. It's shaping up for Brian Robinson to be a volume monster. His only thing holding him back is going to be his receiving upside. I think he only caught like 10 or 11 balls last year. If he gets upwards of 30 to 40 catches, though, that's where he's going to be a true breakout. So to me, it's a mini breakout because he's not a complete player, but he's going to get a lot of rushing opportunity, 1,000 yards, maybe a lot of touchdowns on his radar. I think he can be a poor man's version of Kenneth Walker. Dameon Pierce, another guy that I'm excited about. We're going to call him another mini breakout player. I'm drafting him a lot in fantasy drafts right now. Nearly rushed for 1,000 yards in just 13 games last year, and the Texans were garbage. So everything's pointing up for the Texans this year. Improved receiver room, improved tight end room, improved quarterback room. Defense, offense is going to be better. I think it's in a really good situation for Dameon Pierce. They're going to pound the ball with him. They brought in Devin Singletary, but I think he's more of a third down replacement for Rex Burkhead. So Dameon Pierce, he caught 30 passes last year. If he gets the rushing workload that he had last year and continues to catch passes upwards of 40 plus receiving receptions, he's in for a top 10, top 12 running back season. You could get this running back one maybe in the 6th round of drafts right now. I love Dameon Pierce. And then we're going to just pass over some of these handcuffs. But my final RB2 or my final RB breakout year 2 guy is Isaiah Pacheco. And it took him a while to get into the system. He didn't officially take over until week 10. From then on, he averaged 12.11 PPR points per game. He finished his RB 32, but if he would have played, at that level the whole season, the dude probably would have been a fringe running back 1. And assuming he's got the running first and second down role to himself again this year, he's going to continue to post, floor games of 10 to 12 points. He's going to get touchdowns. He's going to hopefully get more catches this year. Jerick McKinnon's another year older. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is healthy, but that's really all that is there for competition. So he's being drafted right now as RB28 right next to James Cook. He's a guy that if I can't get Cook, I want Pacheco on my team attached to Patrick Mahomes. I'm drafting Pacheco a lot right now. So really good list of running backs here. You got Pacheco, Pierce, B-Rob, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall. I love grabbing from this second year group. And you want to be young at running back. You want to be grabbing young talent here. And then we get to the wide receivers here. The second year wide receivers, huge list. Draft these guys. You're taking Garrett Wilson. I think he's got top 5 potential, top 10 lock for the wide receiver position with Aaron Rodgers. Chris Olave, he played with freaking Andy Dalton, a little bit of Winston, a little bit of whoever last year at quarterback. Olave looking really, really good. He's a late second, early third round draft pick right now. Derek Carr pummeled the hell out of Devontae Adams with targets. Chris Olave is going to get pummeled with targets by Derek Carr. Drake London, I think he's going to be very good. I don't know if he's going to break out, though. I think Wilson and Olave will break out. London, just because of the product of his offense, he's probably not going to break out, but he's going to be pretty solid this year. I think he's got wide receiver 2 written all over him, just a guy that you're comfortable leaving in there, and he's going to gobble up, 5-6 catches per game for his 70-80 yards. The touchdowns will be, the thing for him. If he catches more than 6-7 touchdowns, he's going to have a breakout year. Jameson Williams, full year removed from his injury, 6-game suspension this year, so he's going to be a little bit patient. You got to have patience if you draft Jameson. I'm excited about him. They don't have a receiver like him on the roster. Amon-Ra eats in the middle of the field. Jameson Williams stretches the field, and they're going to try and manufacture touches to him. So on teams where I need a 4th, 5th receiver, I like Jameson Williams in that role. If I can get by the first 6 weeks, you get this reinforcement in week 7, and Jameson Williams could be a big play guy. So maybe not a breakout this year because it's not a full season, probably next year. But I like Jameson Williams a lot. Jahan Dotson here. I don't know if we can say a breakout season is here. He's got Terry McLaurin. You also have the questions about Sam Howell. I don't know if Howell can support two elite fantasy wide receivers. So to me, he's a guy that I want on my teams for sure. But I don't know if I can call it a breakout season. It really depends on Sam Howell. It's there. Like Jahan Dotson, he's ready to break out. I just don't know if Sam Howell's going to be able to break him out with all the stats there. The one guy that I'm buying a lot right now is Traylon Burks. He hopped DK Metcalf as my most drafted receiver in best ball leagues right now. There's nobody there besides Traylon Burks in the receiver room in Tennessee. I think Tannehill's going to hold on to the job longer than people think. We might see Will Levis the final 3, 4, 5 games of the year, but it's Traylon Burks as much as he can handle. He's going to get all the targets. Chico Conco is the number 2 target there. So Burks, I expect him to lead this team in targets. He's going to get as much as he can handle. Absolutely love Traylon Burks. He showed us glimpses last year before the concussion and a couple other injuries nagged him. Full off season for him. He's comfy. He looked good in his OTAs. Cooling the Christian Watson breakout because there's going to be a little bit of a dip in QB efficiency to Jordan Love. You also have year 2 Romeo Doubs. You got Jaden Reed, who they drafted in the second round. They drafted 2 tight ends. There's a lot of moving parts in the passing game. I like Watson, but I don't know if I'm ready to call him a breakout. I think it's going to be maybe 2024 where that happens. And then don't sleep on Romeo Doubs, who I'll talk about in a second. George Pickens, the final true breakout potential wide receiver here, second-year wide receiver. It's George Pickens. He's tied to Kenny Pickett, who at the beginning of the show I mentioned the Steelers are going to have more time to throw deep this year with an improved offensive line. I think George Pickens is going to benefit a lot from that offensive line improvement. The second-year breakout is here, I think, but kind of like Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, Deontay Johnson's going to continue to command a ton of targets. In order for Pickens to break out truly, I think he's going to need Deontay to either get hurt or get moved or something. So I'm going to say a mini breakout for George Pickens. He's there. I think behind Deontay, it's going to be a little bit tough for him to have a true emergence. And then I just want to note, keep an eye on Tyquan Thornton, year 2, and Romeo Doubs, year 2. Both guys should be heavily involved in their passing offenses in year 2. The second-year tight ends, I'm just going to kind of summarize here. It's Chigozie Okonkwo for similar reasons that we were infatuated with Traylon Burks. He's the only game in town after Traylon Burks. He's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to be on the field a lot. He's their only tight end that's any good. And I get it. It's a low-volume passing offense, but in the past, man, we've seen some big numbers out of Tannehill in that passing offense with Jonnu Smith, A.J. Brown, and a couple other guys, but I love Chico Conquo. He's the only guy of this list that's a top tight end 1. I mean, Jelani Woods, sure, he's got potential. Greg Dulcich has potential. Otten, Ferguson, Isaiah Likely, Chico Conquo, it's Okonkwo. But otherwise, this is a really good list. Trey McBride, he's probably the starter for half the year while Ertz is getting his feet underneath him. Jelani Woods has true breakout potential, but I think there's too much. It's a little bit crowded in Indianapolis right now. Dulcich, I like him a lot. There's reports of him being the Joker player in that Denver Broncos offense for Sean Payton. But again, he's kind of the 3rd, 4th, 5th target at best in that offense. Cade Otton had a nice year as a rookie. He could continue his success. My favorite guy, though, is keep an eye on Jake Ferguson. Someone's got to inherit those Dalton Schultz routes. Luke Schoonmaker's already in a walking boot. I think Ferguson's probably that guy. But it's Chico Conco for me. Let's move on to the 3rd-year breakout guys. We're going to just kind of skip this one. Trevor Lawrence at quarterback and Justin Fields. These guys broke out last year. I don't know if it's a good idea to call them breakout players. I expect them to kind of continue where they left off last year and be like they are ready to join those elite tier of quarterbacks and be fringe top 5 QBs. As for Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, it ain't happening for these guys. I do expect Mac Jones to look better in 2023 with finally a healthy system of an offensive coordinator and some improved weapons. I think Mac Jones will be improved, but not a breakout. It's all about Lawrence and Justin Fields from this 3rd-year class. The running backs, we did have some guys already break out from this class. I will kind of summarize here. Najee Harris has already broken out as a rookie. Don't see him returning back to those numbers, so I don't think we can call him a breakout. Travis Etienne kind of broke out last year, but now that you add Tank Bigsby to the mix, who they're really high on in Jacksonville, Bigsby's going to eat up some short yardage carries. He might even take some passing down work from Etienne. We'll see. I like Etienne, but I don't know if I'm ready to call him a breakout player. I think he's a nice piece to your fantasy roster this year, but I don't see him being as a top 10 running back. Ramondre Stevenson. If there's any breakout running back from this list, it is Ramondre. Had a dynamite year last year. They didn't really add anyone behind him. They added James Robinson. They're getting Ty Montgomery healthy this year, so it's kind of wheels up for Ramondre Stevenson. He had the breakout last year, but I think he's set to improve on all those numbers last year. So if there is one breakout, it is Ramondre here. I'll touch on Javonte Williams real quick. He's coming back from a multi-ligament knee injury. I don't love it. He's in a 50-50 split with Samaje Perine. I don't see the breakout happening this year. He might break out at the final December, January month of the fantasy football calendar, but 2024, the Javonte Williams breakout will be on. And then Khalil Herbert here, a guy that has a chance to emerge. He's in a three-way committee with Deonta Foreman and rookie Roschon Johnson. Chuba Hubbard's the backup. Kenneth Gainwell backup, Elijah Mitchell backup. That's kind of where we're at. The wide receivers, this is the best list on the whole article. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. These guys have all broken out. You could say they're breakout players in 2023. Continue to draft them. I love drafting them where they're being drafted right now. But the true breakout potentials, Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore. I get it with Kadarius Toney. I see the talent. I don't trust the player. I don't trust him to stay healthy. I don't trust them off the field. The Chiefs' offense is built around Travis Kelce. After that, they got a bunch of receivers. Toney needs to separate himself from those guys and stay on the field. If Toney stays on the field, I get it. I don't know if I'm comfortable spending a 7th or 6th round pick on him right now, though. But I see it with Toney. I'm not ready to call it a breakout yet. I need to see more consistency from Toney. Only 5 snaps in the Super Bowl. Rashad Bateman, he's got a good chance to break out. I do think adding Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. does limit him a little bit with his ceiling, but a full healthy offseason will be good for Rashad Bateman. He's been practicing in OTAs. I do think he's the best Baltimore Ravens receiver to own. But again, after Mark Andrews, it's going to be tough to break out. But I do like Bateman. The guy of this list, though, it's Elijah Moore. We've seen it from Elijah Moore before. His rookie season, especially, he went on a tear. Last year was a disaster for the Jets offense and the quarterback situation, but now you put him with Deshaun Watson. I'm assuming Elijah Moore is going to be the starting slot receiver. I could see him feast with Deshaun Watson. I think he's got top 24 upside. Probably going to be more coy about it, though, and say he's a wide receiver 3 this year and has a chance to put up career numbers across the board. So I like Elijah Moore. I'll call him the breakout. Keep an eye on Nico Collins with CJ Stroud. Keep an eye on Rondale Moore, Terrace Marshall. I like these guys, but not ready to call them breakouts yet. And then the final part of the article, Kyle Pitts is always going to be a breakout candidate. 1,000 yards as a rookie. Up and down year last year with Marcus Mariota. He got hurt. We're going to say Kyle Pitts is another breakout candidate player for 2023. It's his 3rd season in the offense. Improvement at quarterback, hopefully with Desmond Ridder for a full season. I want to buy Kyle Pitts. He's cheap. This is probably the cheapest we're ever going to get Kyle Pitts. This is the year he needs to hit. Otherwise, we're going to probably start labeling him a bust soon, which would not be great. But don't forget about that 1,000-yard rookie season. Unleash Kyle Pitts, please. But the true breakout at tight end, year 3, Pat Freiermuth. He ranked in the top 6 among tight ends last year in yards, receptions, and targets. He only caught 2 touchdown passes. That's the only thing that held him back. And he still, even though he caught 2 touchdowns, he was wide receiver or tight end 7. And right now he's being drafted as tight end 10. I think he's a lock for top 7 production. The touchdowns are going to come. We talked about that with Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth is the tight end sleeper you're looking for. You can get him in the 9th round of fantasy drafts right now. He's going to be a fringe top 5 tight end this year. Grab him. Keep an eye on Hunter Long and Noah Gray. They're backups, but just keep an eye on them. And then there's the recap there. So this was a lot of fun for me to write up. I hope you guys liked it. Again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new. You can read the article in its entirety at the link in the description below. Check out some of the other stuff we got on the site there in the 2023 playbook. And hey, thank you for your time. I hope this was a good video. I'm out of breath here. This was fun for me to write and to cover in video format, but that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you guys in a future video. Peace.